السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله حمد من قال إن الحمد له وأشكره شكران من شكر فشكر الله له وألوذ به إذ قال إن الصوم له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له حمدا لمن أسماؤه مكملة الله لا إله إلا هو له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله قدمه ربه على كل نبي أرسله وكتابه على كل كتاب أنزله وجعل أمته الخيرة الأولى وبعد. My beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah, we live in a time that the world has never seen before and the world will never see again. Each day is like a fingerprint. Each one has the same features, but no two are alike. And when it comes to this blessed day of Jummah, Allah had designated it as a time for worship specifically for a number of factors. Now, brothers, Assalamu alaikum. Just put it away. It'll invalidate your Jummah. Just 20 minutes, inshallah. We almost done. Same for my boys on the wall, too. Keep it down, all right? Now, the reason why we take the time to do that is because the littlest thing can invalidate your Jummah. It's actually a part of my point today. We've taken many of the rites and rituals of Islam and we've trivialized it. If it was a final exam and you came in and started talking, the teacher might just kick you out. if you, depending on the nature of your work, if you don't have a certain amount of activity on your mouse, on your keyboard, they will see you as being unproductive. You might lose your job. And that's the nature of the world we live in. We're all held to different standards of excellence, different standards that we all have to obey and fall in line with. But for whatever reason, when it comes to doing things as Muslims, when it comes to doing stuff in Islam, that's where we get the pushback. That's where the heart begins to fight back. And the truth is, little brother, it's my last time reminding you. Assalamu alaikum, akhi. You know I can see you, right? Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, don't talk during Jummah. It'll invalidate your Friday prayer. Like, you might as well not even come. You understand me? Good. MashaAllah. It's my first time doing this shift out here. I see we got lots of youth here. We love to see it, alhamdulillah. Saying all of that to say, it behooves me to give you a reminder that will benefit you for the next 167 hours of your life. So the title of today's khutbah, especially from what we've seen so far, is The Greatest Story Rarely Told. The greatest story rarely told. Let me take you all on a journey back before time was even being counted, where there was a slave from the slaves of Allah who endeavored for the heights of Allah's pleasure, who endeavored to be amongst beings of light. It's said about this being in particular, this slave from the slaves of Allah, that there was not a space the distance of a handspan throughout the entire cosmos, except that this specific worshiper of Allah had found time and energy to at least make sajda there. There was major conflict on the earth before the children of Adam were created. The jinn, those various spirits of different shapes and sizes, beliefs and whatnot, had existed in the earth, and they had spread a lot of corruption. And this is before Adam, the first man, was ever even made. And so this worshiper in particular was chosen. Go ahead and tell him what I told y'all. So I can just sit down. There you go. Yeah. Is it always like that at this shift, mashallah? Yes, no, a little bit. Don't think I'm easily distracted. I'm saving Jummahs out here, I promise you. So this slave from the slaves of Allah had found himself in the ranks of these righteous people who fought against those corrupt spirits. But when our father Adam was created, before the soul was put in his body, this being saw it, couldn't stand it. It said that the first instance of racism that ever happened in human history happened between this worshiper of Allah and our father Adam. He looked at it and said, what is this thing made out of dirt? Why does Allah need this when Allah has me? The truth is, y'all may know who I'm talking about. It's Shaitan. It's the devil himself. And the reason why I bring up Shaitan is because, as they say in Kentucky, the devil's greatest trick is convincing people that he doesn't exist. A famous scholar by the name of Al-Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah, he said, I had a dream where Iblis himself, the devil himself, came to me. And I said, Shaitan, mashallah, Shaitan, many of your, I said, Shaitan, many of your practices have infected the minds of the children of Adam. It's caused them to commit a lot of corruption and evil. And Shaitan said back to Al-Hasan al-Basri, I used to teach the children of Adam the ways of evil, and now they teach me. When you look around, a lot of people are distracted. It would make you think that the devil really isn't real. SubhanAllah, the way people spend excessive amounts of time on their phone, thinking that it's causing them to relax. What do you think puts it in your mind that binge watching anime and TV shows, being on your phone during Jummah, what do you think puts that in your mind that this is just okay? What do you think does that? What do you think makes a person look at praying Fajr every single day and say, you know what, I'm going to just sleep through it, it'll be fine? What do you think puts that in a person's heart besides the devil himself? If we were to compare lifestyles, and you were to meet a person who says, you know what, I get to live for as long as I want, until the end of time. And during that time, I get to do whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about anything. All of the people, they're at my command. All of the power, it's in my hand. I can do whatever I want. Many people would look at such a person and envy that. Man, I wish I could just do stuff and not have to worry about anything. But that's Shaitan's MO. That's how he operates. He made a dua to Allah. Give me respite until the day of judgment. Just let me do my thing. And what you're going to find when it comes to the children of Adam is most of them are not going to be grateful. Most of them are going to look at the blessing of Islam and they're going to see it as a burden. Most of them are going to look at the access you give them by way of worship and they're going to be ungrateful for that. Most of them are not going to be Muslims because they love you. They're going to be Muslims because of heritage. It's what their parents did, so they do it too. You're going to look at many of the slaves from the children of Adam, and you'll find them to be ungrateful. And I ask you, brothers and sisters, do you fulfill that promise of Shaitan with the way you treat your deen? Where you care and put energy and time into everything except your relationship with Allah? Are you proving the devil right every single day? With how you interact with your parents, with how you approach your worship, with even right down to it just being 25 minutes of Jummah? Are you proving the devil right? Because the truth is, many of the children of Adam are proving Shaitan right. But alhamdulillah for the blessing of Islam and the mercy of a merciful creator who gives us the chance to know the story of our open enemy Shaitan, but on top of that, to overcome these traps and tricks. So what does that have to do with you? What does that have to do with where you're at in your life, whether you're young or you're old? Inshallah, in the second part of our khutbah, we'll discuss that and more. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. In a khutbah that we gave a couple of weeks ago here, we mentioned a notion from the Quran where Allah points out that most people simply don't care. Most people are not going to care about their akhirah, even though you're all going to be dead longer than you're ever going to be alive, and you know this. You've never met a person who's going to be alive longer than they're going to be dead. And you know, in the Quran, Allah tells you what happens to you when you die. Soul comes out of the body. Soul in the barzakh, the test of the grave. You've heard about this since you were knee high, Sunday school, Islamic school, hifz school. You go over these verses all the time. There's accountability. There's reward for people who did good, and there's punishment for those who did not. But even though Allah spells that out for us, most people, they won't care. And the reason most people don't care is because they're distracted. And the reason why most people are distracted is because of the devil. Now, I bring all of this up now because I don't know if I will be here between now and the end of Ramadan. Allah Ta'ala, He knows. And we ask Allah to give us health and means to live to and through Ramadan. Say Ameen. And we ask Allah to not just let us live in Ramadan, but to benefit from Ramadan. Say Ameen. And we ask Allah to give us an accepted Ramadan. Not just a Ramadan where you fast and stand for Taraweeh, but where Allah accepts it from you. Say Ameen. The truth is, brothers and sisters, you're about to get a lot more Ramadan talks. And one of the features of Ramadan that we find out every single year is what? Shaitan is locked up. Now what does that mean exactly? Shaitan get sent to Shaitan jail? The truth is, we don't know the nature of it physically. We don't know the reality of it. We take the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at his word. So when Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he says that in the month of Ramadan, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the month of Ramadan, shaitan is locked up. That open enemy that hates the children of Adam and distracts us all the time, we do know that he's no longer a factor the way he is the other 11 months of the year. So now who are you dealing with? You're dealing with yourself. Just you. So, are you distracted in the month of Ramadan because of the devil? Well, you can't put that on him anymore. We're fasting. We're going to the masjid now, maybe more than we go throughout the rest of the year. We're in a state of worship that is more active than any other time of the year. And because of that, the means of the devil to distract us are cut down just a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's still just you. So if you don't care now, how can you care just because it's Ramadan? Brothers and sisters, Ramadan is not a pillar of Islam. It is a month in the lunar calendar. What makes Ramadan blessed is because it is the month that Allah revealed the Quran. The pillar of Islam is specifically fasting during this month. So Ramadan itself does not elevate worship. Ramadan is elevated because of the worship we do in it. And because of those various factors, Allah tells us about the nature of that time. Shaitan, he's cut out of the equation. It's just you. Ya baghi al-khair, aqbil. If you want to do good, go forward. Ya baghi al-shar, aqsir. If you want to do evil, now's the time to cut it out. Now we're about a week into Sha'ban, which means we have about 3 weeks to go before Ramadan. There's a concept in sports psychology referred to as light switch mentality. And what that means is your favorite cricket player, your favorite football player, your favorite football/soccer player, they don't just turn on a switch in big moments. They don't just become better when the time changes. There is no light switch inside of a person that allows for them to just turn on ability, turn on their skills. Rather, you see athletes and you see these different people in these different professions, whether it's a surgeon standing over a beating heart or whether it's somebody hitting a free throw before to end the game, to win the game. That is not a light switch. It comes from practice and preparation. Now, if that's the case for a game or a sport, how much more so for this blessed month of Ramadan? You're not going to hit a switch just because Tarawih starts. And you're not going to change just because shaitan is chained. You have to start that process now. Now I'm going to close with this point before Salah, inshallah. Because of the nature of Ramadan and because shaitan knows he's going to be locked up and because his story, even though it's one that we know quite often and we know quite well, it's not a story that we talk about out loud. Shaitan went from being this righteous worshiper to becoming literally the enemy of humanity until the day of judgment. We know it, but we don't really talk about it openly. And maybe that's a part of his deception too. But the truth is, brothers and sisters, shaitan knows he's about to be locked up. So some of you, in the lead up to Ramadan, have faced tests in this time that you've not faced otherwise. Tests in your desires, tests with your family, tests in your health, tests in your finances, tests with school, tests with friends, tests with motivation, tests in your spirituality, tests in your emotionality. Normally, just before Ramadan, people get tested in a way that they're not normally tested. And it's shaitan's final assault before he knows you're going to have about 30 days to yourself without him being in the equation. Have you felt that? Have you seen that? Even in the things that are happening in the world, shaitan, he ramps up before he gets chained. There's a pretty eloquent analogy that's given for this, that 11 months out of the year, shaitan, he's like a spoon stirring some chai or some coffee. And he stirs it and he stirs it and he stirs it. But what happens, brothers and sisters, when you take that spoon out of that cup you've been stirring, all of the contents inside will keep moving. So if shaitan has just been doing this to you all year, it doesn't really matter if he's been taken out of the equation. Everything he's been stirring up inside is going to continue to thrive throughout that month of Ramadan. So my singular advice to all of you today is stop that stirring. Whatever it is, whatever momentum, whatever motion Shaitan has generated in your life, recognize your open enemy, know where he is getting you, and stop it now. Just because Ramadan starts doesn't mean you're automatically going to just shift gears. How many of you throughout your times of Ramadan, inshallah, this will be my 11th Ramadan since I converted 10 years ago. But I know every single year, the first week of Ramadan is the hardest. You're the hungriest. You're the thirstiest you've ever been. Your caffeine deficit is causing you to have a headache. You struggle. Maybe the first 2 nights you go to Taraweeh, and then all of a sudden you start having these internal conversations with yourself. I need to pace myself. I don't want to burn myself out. Now you can't blame waswas for that. You can't blame Shaitan for that. You just have to look at yourself. And you have to push through that. And what Allah is teaching us with that is that if you can be strong on your own, then the strength that you find between yourself and your Creator is enough to deal with Shaitan the rest of the year. You just have to seize that opportunity. So do not ignore the existence of your open enemy, Shaitan, and stop whatever it is that is taking you away from Allah now. Decrease your screen time. Watch a little less TV. Get off of YouTube as much. Pick up a mushaf now. Begin to listen to more Quran now. Try praying Qiyam now. We cannot live our worship vicariously through somebody who's just up here reading the Quran for 29 nights. That's not how it works. You have to find that strength for yourself. You have to find that benefit for yourself. And brothers, sisters, if you have hit the age of maturity, your accountability has begun now. You have no excuses because you're young. And for those of you with gray in your hair, just because you're old doesn't mean that Ramadan all of a sudden isn't as important for you as it is for everyone else. Now is the time to seize that opportunity. So meet your open enemy head on. We ask Allah to give us success to and through Ramadan. We ask Allah to give us victory over our open enemy, Shaitan. The truth is, brothers and sisters, in the Quran, Allah tells us there's a group of people that are not affected by the devil like everyone else is. And it is people who are sincere, the mukhlasin. People who are only doing things for the sake of Allah will never be bothered by the devil. How can Shaitan attack a person who's operating solely for the sake of Allah? It's when you mix your desire in, it's when you mix your ego in, it's when you mix your preference in, that all of a sudden Shaitan has a way in. So cut the devil out of the process and operate for the sake of Allah, and see how Allah gives you success before Ramadan, in Ramadan, and beyond Ramadan. May Allah give us that success. Say Ameen. Allahumma gfir li muslimina wal muslimat والمؤمنين والمؤمنات وأقم الصلاة